The regular meeting of the Annapolis City Council on Monday, January 12th, 2026 will be called to order at 7 p.m. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence so everyone could prepare themselves for the work ahead of us. At this time, would everyone willing and able please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Littman.
Present.
Alderman Huntley.
Here.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Present.
Alderman Smith Brown.
Present.
Alderwoman Alsop Johnson.
Present.
Alderman Shandelmeyer.
Present.
Alderwoman Conti.
Present.
Alderman Savage.
Present.
Alderman Thorpe.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Shandelmeyer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Ms. City Attorney, would you please call the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda is petitions, reports, and communications, beginning with the update from the mayor.
Thank you. All right, good evening and welcome everybody to the first City Council meeting of the new year. I hope that everyone had a restful holiday. On Wednesday, the Maryland General Assembly will open for the 447th legislative session. For the next 90 days, legislators, their staff, constituents, and advocates will be in Annapolis to do the important work of state government. The session is also a boost to downtown businesses during an otherwise quiet time of year. Let's remind ourselves to have a little grace for the out-of-towners who aren't familiar with our roads and traffic patterns. And for all of you visiting Maryland's capital city, welcome. Also in downtown, construction at City Dock will bring changes to traffic flow and parking starting Monday, January 19th. These changes will absolutely be inconvenient, but they are necessary. Our city team worked with project managers from Whiting Turner to try to avoid this closure for as long as possible, but it was not possible to postpone this closure given the constraints on space and the need to work adjacent to an environmentally sensitive estuary. This will be a challenge for the businesses in the immediate area. We acknowledge the challenge and are working to provide support to help visitors get from the Mills Hillman garage for parking and then to maintain foot traffic along Dock Street with enhanced signage and advertising campaign. Moving forward with this project, we recognize there was not enough notice provided to residents and businesses. We are working with economic development and the businesses themselves to maintain a higher level of two-way communication going forward. For 2026, the Harbor Master has open docking requests. This typically doesn't happen until late March, but we are working ahead of schedule to alert maritime users of City Dock due to the temporary limitations due to the construction. Thank you, Harbor Master Beth Bellis and her team for rolling this out to help all of our City Dock customers navigate construction. If you're interested in spring or summer slips along Ego Alley, please check out the city website for the online application by going to www.annapolis.com and use the search keyword Harbor Master. I want to acknowledge the concerns being raised online about the Annapolis Fire Department staffing and medic unit availability. First, it's important for all of us to recognize how demanding the work is for firefighters and paramedics, especially when all units are in service. Public safety is a shared goal of this administration, the department, and fire union. How resources are used, including staffing and deployment, are matters subject to collective bargaining agreements addressed through union negotiations, which are ongoing at this time. These negotiations are not public-facing conversations, but I assure you that these issues are being discussed. My hope is that they will be addressed to a mutual satisfaction. I should note that the fire department staff, along with all of city staff, have been invited to participate in ongoing roundtable discussions so that we can hear their concerns, issues, and propose solutions. This effort is meant to be collaborative. Moving forward, the topic will ultimately come before this body as part of our budget deliberations for fiscal year 2027. That will happen in the months ahead. I look forward to a robust conversation with the City Council. I, like you, are concerned about ensuring that we are using our resources wisely and to provide for your safety. And I'm pleased to report that the Annapolis Fire maintains the highest ISO ratings, which is a uniform measure of a community's fire protection standards. Our Information Technology Office sent around praise last week because Annapolis Fire is the first department in the city to complete the transition of PDF documents into fully ADA accessible and compliant web pages. This work not only improves compliance, it makes public safety information easier for all residents to find, read, and use. During the campaign, one of the things we promised residents and businesses was our desire to deliver a higher level of service. Being in office has reinforced something that was already clear during the campaign, that capacity challenges for city staff are a constant constraint on our ability to deliver services. At our last meeting, we introduced legislation to add a deputy chief of staff position to the mayor's office. That request is a direct extension of our platform to improve responsiveness and also invest in senior level coordination and accountability to ensure the city delivers on both the promises and execution of that work. And I thank you in advance to your support and consideration. I get asked for jobs frequently and board positions. We have both many job vacancies and open positions on volunteer boards and commissions. If you're interested in working for the city or volunteering, please check out our jobs board at annapolis.gov and use the search keyword jobs. If you would like to use your own subject matter expertise to help Annapolis, please volunteer to serve on an Annapolis board or commission. Please go to annapolis.gov and use the keyword search boards and commissions volunteer to be considered. We thank you in advance for being willing to help your community. Last week, we learned that Dick Franyo, a personal friend and business colleague, had entered into agreement for his restaurant to be acquired. That information ignited a vigorous online discussion over the weekend. For tonight, I just want to simply congratulate Dick on a very successful run as a restaurateur, a philanthropist, and a business owner in our community. His success has been rooted not only in hard work, but also in a commitment to sharing that success with the Annapolis community. Dick has shared that he will continue to run the restaurant through a transition period. I hope you will all join me in wishing him the very best in his retirement. He's earned it. A reminder that city offices are closed next Monday, January 19th, in observance of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Transit will operate on a Sunday schedule, while refuse and recycling will not be affected. Pitt Moyer will operate on regular hours, and the Stanton Center will be closed. And lastly, I just want to share a few nuggets of Annapolis Works good stories. First is the responsiveness of Annapolis Public Safety. We've had some challenges with a signal in Eastport at 6th Street in Chesapeake, and over the weekend it went out again. And thanks to Alderman Thorpe alerting other individuals, police and OAM worked to ensure that we had traffic control coverage for this morning's school drop-off, while DPW continues to work on a permanent solution. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Another Eastport issue was a resident who had a permitting challenge with their contractor set to begin work today. On Friday, Alderman Thorpe reached out to Director Jakubiak to help resolve the issue. The director worked over the weekend with his team to resolve the issue, and this morning the permit was issued so that the contractor could begin work on time. And lastly, I'd like to share an email that Alderman Huntley and I received. Dear Mayor and Alderman, a brief note of commendation. We have an historic home with a marker and are subject to HPC guidelines. The writer goes on to say that the home needs a new gutter and changes to roof slates. They submitted the permit request through the online portal, and he said that after the filing, he received a call from Liz Beckley in Planning and Zoning. She said additional paperwork was needed. The writer continued, she just called again to let me know that they approved the permit. This was good customer service, and I appreciate it. I was concerned that the slate spec would be found unsatisfactory and would require a more expensive alternative. This turned out to be incorrect, and I appreciate Historic Preservation Division's assistance. To the extent that city policymakers want this area to continue to have a genuine character and not exist as an ersatz facade of short-term rentals, The city must continue working to make already expensive upkeep of historic homes slightly less bureaucratic. I think John Tower and his staff are trying to do that. Keep it up. There's certainly more work to be done, but it's a great way to end my comments tonight, and I concur. Let's keep up the good work. Now let's get on with our meeting. Madam City Attorney, will you please present the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda is reports by committees.
Thank you. Are there any council members that wish to make a committee report? Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at the last Environmental Matters Committee meeting, we actually continued, we didn't have legislation to hear. We will at our next meeting, but we continued a tradition that the mayor actually started 12 or so years ago by having various topics and informational sessions at the committee meeting. And so if people, I'll only give a few details, but if you want to view some of the updates, I would encourage you to check the record, and you can also watch the video on YouTube. But the first item we got an update on was Hawkins Cove Restoration Project. That is progressing nicely. That is right near the Hackett Building. And so the one component of that will be shoreline restoration, as well as dredging along and a extension of the pier. Because right now, you see there used to be a pier and it goes out into a mud flat. So this is going to be one of the key water access points for the Eastport Terrace community. And I think it's going to be an enormous asset. And however, I think we don't quite have money lined up for the dredging yet. They have submitted an application for some money to support that. And the other part of the project is a pedestrian cyclist boardwalk that is going to connect, trying to recall the name of that street there that comes down, connects Madison along over to Truxton Park and Spa Cove Apartments. And that is sorely needed. Midshipman run that route. I used to commute and you have to go down into a steep ravine, climb over some concrete. It's not a very safe trail. So this will be, if we can find the money for that trail expansion, I think it'll be a great asset for the community. We also received updates from Planning and Zoning on development projects. Of note, again, I think this is from Alderman Smith Brown's ward, but Somerville Road, there's a lot that is actually split. The county city line goes right down the middle of the lot, oddly enough, but there's a proposal to split that and develop the city lot, redevelop the city lot. We received an update on resilience and sustainability from Deputy City Manager Guild, and of note in there, she highlighted how they're working on a proposal to purchase our streetlights from BGE so that we have more control over them and can install LEDs. And I think perhaps in the future move towards having some dark skies capabilities as far as being able to dim and the lights when we need to. She also gave an update on our carbon footprint. So again, more details, I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting. And lastly, our next meeting will be on February 12th, 3 p.m. I think we will have some legislation on there, but also I'm going to be giving an update from Public Works on the stormwater fee, watershed restoration fund, and an incentive program they're working on for that. And I thought that'd be important to get before our budget because that will be coming up along with our other utility fee conversations. And coupled with that will be an update on our tree canopy discussions, tree canopy goals, since that is also part of our watershed restoration fund at this point. So I look forward to reporting on that at the February meeting, I should say. Thank you.
Any questions for Alderman Savage? Okay. Any other committee reports? Okay. Seeing none, I'll move on to the next business. Madam City Attorney.
Next item on the agenda is comments by the general public.
Thank you. During comments for the general public, we will be calling individuals one at a time. I just want to clarify, this is not yet the public hearing on the two pieces of legislation that are specifically up for a public hearing. So if you're here for those two items, this is not that. This is just comments for the general public on anything else but those two things. The first person that I will call up, I'll name the first three people to come in order. First is Patty Templeton, followed by Samantha Wilkerson, followed by Tony Pratt.
Patty Templeton, I am, 4 Rockwell Court, Annapolis, Maryland, 2143, but I am the general manager of Biddy & Bowes at 124 Dock Street, and that is why I'm here tonight. I know you expressed it in your opening remarks about everything you guys are trying to do for the businesses on City Dock, as far as when this project first started, about signage and everything else that was supposed to help guide people down to the Dock Street, which was back, I guess, right after Boat Show when everything started. Still no signage. Nothing really has changed much. Eric has reached out with us. He's new. He's trying his best, but pretty much it's a dead zone down there. And I feel sorry. I mean, I could get another job when we close, but I'm concerned about our team members. And if most of you guys know, our team members all have intellectual disabilities. They have enough challenges, and to lose a job, it would just be heartbreaking to me as well as them. So I really hope that we can work this out so that the businesses don't die down there. One, as of just last week, did shut down, so one's gone, and there's not a whole lot left. So I do really hope that you guys can work on something so that we do survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Templeton. Samantha Wilkerson.
Hi, I'm Samantha Wilkerson. I'm 10 Sandstone Court, Annapolis, Maryland. My mother, Kate Wilkerson, and I own and operate the Annapolis Marine Art Gallery at 110 Dock Street.
Can you speak up, please?
My mother, Kate Wilkerson, and I own and operate the Annapolis Marine Art Gallery at 110 Dock Street. I'm here to talk about how the City Dock project is affecting us. The gallery opened 47 years ago in its current spot on Dock Street, and so far it's not looking like the gallery will make it to the end of this project. We were told in May of 2025 that we wouldn't lose Upper Dock Street parking until September 2026. Not ideal, but it still gave us some time. And now we're being told that we will actually be losing that in the next few weeks and will inevitably be losing even more revenue. The first stage of construction started in 2025, and businesses along Dock Street immediately suffered. We were also told the project would be completed in May of 2027. From what I've seen, that deadline has changed to 2028. When asked in May of 2025 what part of the project budget was going towards keeping these businesses open, we were told there was none because they didn't anticipate us losing revenue, which makes no sense because by taking away so much parking and by putting up fencing, you're taking away foot traffic. We were given a timeline and told that this wouldn't negatively affect our businesses, both of which have not been true. People park at Hillman and look down Main Street and think there's nothing here because it's all construction. If you look at comments on social media posts from Ion Annapolis or Downtown Annapolis Partnership, you'll see many users complaining about the parking situation, saying things like Hillman payment methods aren't easy for seniors to navigate, they don't understand the apps, and the consensus being that apps are inconsistent and an unnecessary hassle, forcing Annapolis residents to not come downtown at all, let alone down to Dock Street. Between Thanksgiving and New Year's, visitors received 2 hours of free parking along Dock Street and only 1 hour of free parking in Hillman Garage. It's unfortunate that due to this project alone, Annapolis Marine Art Gallery, a business that has thrived on City Dock for 47 years, might be forced to close down. So I'm just here to put my voice out there and hope that the city hears us and what they're doing to Dock Street businesses, and hope that that change helps us.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkerson. Ms. Pratt?
Good evening, Mayor Lippman and council persons. I'll be here to talk. My name is Tony Strong Pratt, and I live at 32 Juliana Circle East.
Thank you.
Workforce leadership disparities and the impact on minority women in Annapolis. Despite Annapolis's rich diversity, significant racial and gender disparities persist within managerial and supervisory roles across both public and private sector employment. While Black and other minority residents collectively comprise a substantial portion of the city's population, leadership and decision-making positions do not reflect this demographic reality. Available workforce data from Anne Arundel County and Baltimore, Columbia, Towson metropolitan region, widely accepted proximities due to the absence of city-specific occupational data, indicate that approximately 67 to 70% of managerial and supervisory positions are held by white, non-Hispanic individuals, while Black professionals account for only 18 to 21% of these roles. This imbalance is especially pronounced when compared to City of Annapolis population, which is approximately 41% Black. The underrepresentation of minority leadership is not merely statistical. It has real and lasting implications for workplace culture, policy development, and equitable access to advancement. Minority women experience the compound effects of these disparities at particularly alarming rates. In addition to being unrepresented in leadership positions, minority women in Annapolis face disproportionate barriers to career longevity and advancement, even when they possess tenure, institutional knowledge, and demonstrated performance. Patterns observed across local institutions and sectors reveal that minority women with seniority are more frequently subject to termination, forced separation, or constructive discharge, while their white counterparts in similar roles and with compared tenure are more often afforded pathways to retirement, phased exit, or internal assignments. These disparities raise several equity concerns, particularly as termination not only disrupts economic stability, but also deprives minority women of earned benefits, retirement, security, and professional legacy. The loss of senior minority women from the workforce further perpetuates leadership homogeneity, erodes mentorship pipelines for emerging professionals, and reinforces systematic inequities that have long excluded women of color from sustained leadership roles. The cumulative impact of these extends beyond individual employees. They weaken organizational trust, undermine stated commitments to diversity and equity and inclusion, and negatively affect service and delivery in the city that depends on culturally competent leadership. When minority women are systematically removed from leadership trajectories rather than supported through equitable retention and succession planning, institutions lose invaluable insight, continuity, and community credibility. True equity in Annapolis workforce requires more than recruitment initiative. It demands accountability and retention, promotion, and separation practices institutions must crucially examine.
Ms. Pratt, if you can wrap up, please.
What you say?
If you can wrap up, please.
I was wrapping up.
Okay.
Examine termination patterns, ensure equitable performance evaluation standards, and establish transparency pathways that allow all employees, particularly minority women with tenure, to exit the workplace with dignity, security, and recognition of their service. You will hear some letters from anonymous city employees who have issues with disparities and discrimination.
Thank you, Ms. Pratt. The next three speakers are William Pratt, Stephen Waddy, and Renisha Anderson. Mr. Pratt?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is William Pratt. I live at 32 Juliana Circle East.
Thank you.
I'll be reading a letter from a city employee. I'm a current employee of the City of Annapolis. I am a city employee and have firsthand knowledge of discriminatory treatment that occurred within the Public Works Department involving a qualified Black employee who was denied a position for which he was clearly qualified. At the time of the events described herein, a vacancy existed within the Public Works Department for HVAC technician position. The Black male employee in question met all state qualifications for the position and possessed the required professional license necessary to perform the duties of the role. I am aware that his license was valid at the time of the application and remains valid to this day as of January 12, 2026. Despite his qualifications and valid licensure, he was denied the position. During this period, the Director of Public Works, a white male, expressed interest in having a personal friend of his, who is also a white male, placed in the position. I am aware of the Public Works Director communicated with the city's Director of Human Resources, Tricia Hopkins, and falsely represented that the qualified black employee license was invalid. Subsequently, the qualified black employee personally presented proof of his valid license to the Director of Human Resources. Despite this verification, the absence of any evidence showing the license was invalid, the city took no corrective action. The black employee was still denied the HVAC technician position, and no documentation or proof was ever produced to support the claim that his license was invalid. Instead, the city of Annapolis hired a white male who was a personal friend of the Public Works Director. This individual did not possess qualifications equivalent to the black employee at that time of hire. As a result of being denied the HVAC technician position, the qualified black employee was placed in a lower classification and required to work several grades below his professional qualifications. As of today, January 12, 2026, approximately 5 years later, the qualified black employee remains employed by the city of Annapolis in the position of a maintenance technician. Despite being fully qualified and licensed to work as HVAC technician, to my knowledge, no corrective action, investigation, or remediation has been undertaken by the city regarding this matter. Based on what I personally observe and am aware of, this situation reflects discriminatory treatment based on the race and favoritism resulting in his continued utilization of professional harm and qualified black employee. I provide this statement truthfully and to the best of my knowledge, understanding that it may be used in administrative, legal, and investigatory proceedings.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brett. Mr. Waddy. You can please start with your name and address.
Hello, my name is Stephen Waddy. I live in 7968 Heathermas Drive, Severn, Maryland. I'm here on behalf of the NAACP. I'm the president of the Anne Arundel County NAACP. The NAACP's Labor and Industry Committee is charged in our bylaws to work to eliminate discriminatory employment practices in industry and government. In November 2025, we received a series of complaints from City of Annapolis employees regarding what they described as racially motivated actions to humiliate, harass, intimidate, retaliate against, and ultimately fire a number of black employees. Although we are not at liberty to reveal names or job positions, we do take these complaints very seriously. Black labor has been under attack at the federal, state, and local level, and the NAACP is hyper-vigilant in our desire to protect the economic and financial foundations of our community here in Annapolis. Although we hear about many concerns from the political enemies of the current Trump administration, the one strain of violence that stretches through all of their rhetoric is anti-blackness. MAGA began their project to reshape the federal government by attacking the so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and creating workplaces hostile to black workers. And they haven't stopped. What people of goodwill don't want to see is the delegitimacy of our local government with those same MAGA anti-blackness ideas under a mayoral administration that won because of the black vote. We see in the news a nationwide search to fill an acting finance director, acting city attorney, a director of HR, and a new deputy chief of staff, as you all have legislation tonight. We hope to see these positions filled with black employees. Over the past year, countless rank and file employees have courageously reported harassment, retaliation, discrimination, and hostile workplace conditions to senior leadership. These were not isolated anecdotes of minor misunderstandings. They revealed a persistent, widespread, and escalating pattern of misconduct throughout multiple city departments. Prior city aldermen have been made aware of these concerns. One explicitly labeled the behavior as harassment. Yet, even though the city under the prior administration was aware of concerns of discrimination and abuse of employees by department heads, there has been no meaningful oversight, no structural intervention, and no accountability. Instead of following established procedures designed to provide fair and impartial investigations of employees' complaints to ensure integrity, it is alleged in the complaint we received that outside law firms that predominantly defend employees were used to defend the city. Meanwhile, rank and file employees, especially Black employees, have made their position unmistakably clear. They no longer trust the Office of Law, the acting city manager, or the Director of Human Resources. Given the pattern of conduct, that distrust is not only understandable, it is justified. To remedy this breach, Mayor Lippman must rebuild trust through structural change, genuine oversight, and transparent accountability. Therefore, we call for immediate action, a full stay of all personnel actions within the last 6 months involving Black employees pending independent review, appointment of a certified external EEO investigator chosen with community stakeholder participation, a comprehensive review of department head conduct, including retaliation, policy violations, confidentiality breaches, and discriminatory behavior, and an imposition of clear, enforceable accountability mechanisms for leaders
Mr. Waddy,
who
if you could
engage
wrap up, please.
in, thank you, or enabled misconduct, including corrective measures, discipline, or removal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waddy. Ms. Anderson.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Renitra Anderson. I live at 51 Clay Street. I will be reading 2 anonymous letters. To whom it may concern, I am a former employee of the City of Annapolis and a professional Black woman with a bachelor's degree in accounting and over 20 years of accounting experience. I am writing to formally raise serious concerns regarding discrimination, favoritism in hiring and placement, and a hostile work environment that ultimately forced my departure from employment with the City of Annapolis. During my tenure, the reassignment of an accountant position to an unqualified white male who was a personal acquaintance of the former Assistant Director Julie Donnelly raises significant concerns of discriminatory favoritism. This decision occurred within a leadership structure consisting of individuals who had prior personal and professional relationships with Anne Arundel County, including the former Director Jody Dockerson, current HR Director Tricia Hopkins, and Acting Finance Director Jacob Trudell. These relationships give the appearance, at minimum, of biased decision-making. At the time of my hiring, I was explicitly promised eligibility for remote work after 6 months of employment. This promise was later denied without justification, while a white employee with personal ties to leadership was granted remote work immediately upon hire. Additionally, I was assigned duties outside of my job classification and had agreed upon benefits revoked, further demonstrating inconsistent and unequal treatment. I was also denied positions that were promised to me and reassigned to complete significant backlog work from other employees without explanation. Ultimately, the promised role was awarded to a white male with no accounting experience or background in the field. As a result of these actions, I was forced to leave my position and secure alternative employment, causing substantial financial hardship. These concerns reflect a pattern of discriminatory practices and retaliation that warrant immediate review and corrective action. This statement is submitted in good faith and in the hope that meaningful changes will occur to prevent similar treatment of future employees. Respectfully, anonymous writer. To whom it may concern, I am writing to outline several workplace practices that raise concerns regarding fairness, professionalism, and adherence to established standards. My intent in sharing this information is to bring awareness to matters that may warrant review and consideration rather than to submit a formal complaint. This letter is being submitted anonymously due to concerns about potential reprisal for raising these issues. Over time, I have observed practices that may be perceived as unfair or discriminatory in hiring and advancement, particularly where positions appear to be filled without transparent or competitive processes. Such practices can undermine confidence in equal opportunity principles and negatively affect employee morale. Additionally, there have been instances suggesting nepotism or preferential treatment where personal relationships appear to influence employment decisions, workplace expectations, or accountability. These perceptions, whether intended or not, contribute to concerns about equity and consistency in management practices. I have also observed bullying or intimidating behavior within the workplace, including conduct that may discourage open communication or the expression of differing viewpoints. This type of environment can be counterproductive to collaboration, employee engagement, and personal growth. Another concern involves the failure to complete annual performance evaluations in a timely manner, or in some cases at all. The absence of regular documented employment reviews limits opportunities for constructive feedback, professional development, and clear performance expectations. It may influence employees'
Ms. Anderson, if you could wrap up, please.
ability to progress fairly within the organization. In addition, there appear to be inconsistencies in training provided to employees, including a lack of standardized onboarding, ongoing professional development or role-specific instructions.
Thank you for your
It's-
testimony.
All righty.
The next speaker is Mr. Storm. And after that is Shante Brown and Destiny Dale.
Usa sus zapatos. I have a mission in El Salvador. It's a small mission in a very...
Can you please start with your name and address?
Oh, my name is Fade Storm. My address is 120 Dock Street, as well as my business, 130 Dock Street.
Thank you.
For as long as that will last. Anyway, I have a small mission in the northeast part of El Salvador in a very poverty-stricken area. We provide food, we provide clothing, we provide clean water, we provide medicine. And before we meet with these people, my crew and I use that phrase, usa sus zapatos, which means wear their shoes. When we go into their home, we look at their situation and we evaluate it, and then we make promises to those people and we hold to them. One fellow who recently died, his name was Don Pedro. I should tell you that half of the people that we serve are ancianos. They're old people like me, 70 years and above, and single moms that have been abandoned. The promises that we make are important. It's important to their very survival. Don Pedro he was blind, and he used to rub my arm because it's hairy, and he would say to me, I know that at least I'm never going to die of starvation, because we always fed him. Downtown Annapolis, we were made a bunch of promises. As I own a business, it has been there for over 49 years, and it looks like it may not be there for its 50th year. I have already laid off an employee, I've cut everybody's hours, and we were made promises. And none of them yet that I can think of has been kept. The parking was supposed to solve everything. We're going to increase the parking at Hillman Garage, and everyone will go there. When you took the first section of parking, that was about 20% of the parking. Interestingly enough, my business dropped 17.8%, and everybody else said theirs was around 20%. Now we've taken all of it down there, except for the remaining portion that they're planning on taking soon, and our businesses have dropped by 50%. It's not sustainable. It is very difficult to lay employees off that need that income to pay their rent, to pay their insurance, to buy books, to pay their tuition in community college. It's hard to do. I'm hopeful that we can work together and that we can do something, but you need to understand. You need use nuestros zapatos. Wear our shoes.
Thank you, Mr. Storm. Next speaker is Ms. Brown.
Hello, my name is Shante Brown, and I'm reading one of the letters from the city employees.
Please start with your address. Yeah, we heard your name, not an address.
227 Crowell Drive.
Thank you.
I have been an employee of the city for many years. Over time, leadership has changed as expected. However, the current state of the organization is the most concerning I have experienced. If employees with sufficient tenure and financial stability could lead, many would and many already have. Exit interviews appear ineffective, and it may be beneficial to revisit feedback from recent retires to better understand ongoing issues that have become normalized. These issues include favoritism in hiring practice, particularly involving friends and family, and increasing reliance on contracted workers. While some individuals may be qualified for their roles, this is not consistently the case. Employees without personal connection often experience inequity treatment, including limited promotion opportunities, pay disparities, and poor overall treatment. In some cases, individuals appear to be deliberately targeted. The Human Resources Department has not functional as a reliable or imperishable resource. My own attempts to seek assistance through HR were unsuccessful. Employees with connections are advised on which reports to file and whom to contact, while others are told that directors have broad discretion and little oversight. As a result, inappropriate behavior towards employees often goes unaddressed. Although there has been HR staff members who genuinely attempted to do their jobs, they are in fear of no longer being with the city. Currently, there is no safe or neutral avenue for employees to seek assistance without fear of retaliation, including unwarranted write-ups, false or expression, discrimination, blacklisting, or being denied advancement opportunities. If the city truly value loyal, dedicated employees, senior leadership must take a serious and honest look at the culture of favoritism and unchecked authority. Power continues to be passed down without accountability. The same harmful practice, the use of authority to threaten job security, financial stability, and career advancement, and deeply troubling and raises the question of whether meaningful progress has truly been made.
Thank you for your testimony. Ms. Destiny Doyle, then Asia Hicks, and Andrew Alashani. Please start with your name and address.
Destiny Dale, 1387 Tyler Avenue. I'm reading an anonymous letter for an Annapolis employee. I am writing to express serious concerns regarding discriminatory practices, mismanagement, and the failure of employee protection within the city of Annapolis. These concerns stem from repeated experiences, observed patterns involving senior personnel who are entrusted with leadership and employee welfare. In particular, I'm deeply troubled by the actions and inactions of individuals in positions of authority who, rather than supporting employees, appear to have contributed to the marginalization of employees of color. As the Director of Human Resources is expected to uphold fair labor practices and protect employees. However, in my experience, HR has often functioned in a manner that escalates harm rather than protect employees. However, resolves it. Employees seeking assistance are instead met with processes that feel punitive, opaque, and rooted in outdated policies that do not reflect modern labor standards of equity principles. This has created an environment where employees feel discouraged from speaking up and fearful of retaliation. Additionally, I have personally observed situations involving city manager where employees of color were subjected to treatment that felt disproportionate, demeaning, and unjustified. In one such instance, an employee was placed on leave without pay under circumstances that were neither clearly explained nor supported by transparent documentation. During this time, leadership appeared passive, raising serious concerns about accountability and equal application of policy. Conversely, there have been perceptions that white employees facing serious issues were offered discretion and protection not extended to others. I am also concerned about ongoing payrolls and increases that disproportionately impact employees of colors. These errors create financial stress and instability, yet responsibility is frequently deflected rather than addressed. When payroll issues persist without correction, trust in the system erodes, and the burden unfairly falls on those already marginalized. Taken together, these patterns suggest sympathetic failures with upper management that harm employees, ultimately fail the residents of Annapolis who expect integrity, fairness, professionalism from the city government. The city of Annapolis cannot claim to value diversity, equity, and inclusion while allowing employees to experience exclusion, inequity, and silence. Employees deserve fairness, residents deserve better. Accountability must begin now.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sawyer. Asia Hicks, please. Asia Hicks. Sorry. All right, then Andrew Elishani. Forgive me if I don't get the last name right. Thank you.
Andrew Aylesbury, 147 Prince George Street. I'm also joined here by my parents, Rob and Libby Aylesbury. I debated about doing this with the discussion on the moratorium, but I think the point is actually a broader one. My parents and I, we own a short-term rental in Ward 1, a property that we've invested thousands of dollars and many, many hours into making a very nice home that we also use on a part-time basis. I share this background with you not to make this about myself, even though that'd be very tempting to do, but actually I want to talk to you about why the short-term rental legislation that's on the docket for tonight, and that which was also passed in October, is actually unwise for the city as a whole and not just for myself. And it's unwise for a few reasons. The first of which is that it's worth admitting that I think Annapolis is really a visitor-driven economy. I have done a couple of back-of-the-envelope calculations myself and found that for every single resident in the city of Annapolis, there's actually about 75 visitors per year. That is a number which exceeds Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Las Vegas, Miami, and even New Orleans, which I understand is part of the benchmarking that was done to decide on the 10% block face legislation from October. The second piece of this is that as a result of having so many visitors, short-term rentals are actually a huge part of what drives the economy of Annapolis and a really important economic value generator. I find it serendipitous that you heard 3 people here tonight talking about their economic woes for their businesses. Short-term rentals are a vital part of the people that walk in their doors. To put a finer point on this, though, however, I was a little shocked by the fact that when the legislation that was passed in October was presented, there was no economic impact analysis. When I read it, it said, we were not able to do this, too much variability, can't be done. So I've tried to do what the city would not do and calculated it myself with a couple of napkin math tricks here. So for each short-term rental, there's an 8% occupancy tax, which goes directly to the city. If you have some basic assumptions about how much short-term rentals generate, and I can share numbers afterwards if people want to check my math, that equates to around $2 to $3 million per year in revenue that goes directly to the city. Let's put that in context. It's about 2% of Annapolis's annual budget. And a lot more of just the general fund, if that's what you're focusing on. But that's really only the beginning, right? So 8% directly to cities, there's 6% sales and use tax, which goes to the state. There's the licensing fees, and probably most importantly, there's all the visitors who come to Annapolis and spend money at these businesses that the people were just talking about. If you take some, again, very basic benchmarking math here, those people who come and stay at short-term rentals every single year generate about $80 to $130 million worth of business for Annapolis businesses. Now, I've heard it described that one of the reasons why to be against short-term rentals is that's an affordability issue. What good is affording a house if you don't have a job?
Please wrap up your testimony.
What good is a house if you can't afford a job? So respectfully, members of the council, I'll end here with a saying from a very wise politician. It's about the economy, stupid. If you're going to drive down short-term rentals, you're going to take away from the Annapolis economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the general comment period? Please approach now. And again, this is not regarding the short-term moratorium legislation.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Littman and Council.
Thank you.
I'm Ashley Chapin. I'm not an Annapolis resident, but I'm here tonight as a representative of Ranked Choice Voting Maryland. We have appreciated the communication our organization has had with this body
I'm sorry, can you start with your address, please? Name and address.
I don't live in Annapolis.
That's okay. You can still give your address.
My address is 628 Irving Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ranked Choice Voting Maryland, we have appreciated the communication our organization has had with this body towards the establishment of legislation that would establish ranked choice voting elections in Annapolis. And there are continuing conversations at the state level to support that goal with enabling legislation from the Maryland General Assembly. And I am extending here today the invitation for this body to continue to use Ranked Choice Voting Maryland as a resource as this legislation comes up in the coming year. And for those attendees in attendance who aren't aware, Ranked Choice Voting Maryland is a nonprofit organization with the goal of improving Maryland's elections at the city, county, and state level via ranked choice voting, which simply allows voters to rank candidates in order of preference, which eliminates the spoiler effect, allows voters to more accurately reflect their political support for candidates, and results in more representative governments. We work a lot on voter education and outreach, and so I'll use the opportunity here to let folks know about an RCV Day event coming up on January 23rd, because the date is 123. It will be at Paul's Homewood Cafe on January 23rd at 5 to 6:30 p.m. And this event will be on our website, rcvmd.org. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for visiting Annapolis. Are there any other, anyone present who would like to speak during the general comment period? Randy, why don't you go ahead?
Sorry. Apologize, I didn't get to sign in. I was running late.
Okay.
I am Randy Sadlick. I am 127 Sumner Road. I come here on behalf of the Big Cheese family. We have been in Annapolis for 32 years. Our family has been born and raised here. I was born in the hospital right up the street. I will not cry. What's happening to Annapolis is just sad. It's just sad. As you heard, we were made promises. I spoke to you in the shop some months ago, and you said, you know, this is the parking issue is not going to affect you. And I said, yeah, it's going to, if you kind of remember the conversation. It's okay. But I'm not coming to you as just my family, but the big family we have here. We all work together, side by side. We reach out. We've just bonded. I can't tell you the amount of families that we have come to know and call us, you know, their families as well. The biggest problem that we've encountered as of late now is we have commissioning week coming up. I've already had 4 people cancel their catering orders because they can't fathom where they're going to be able to park to pick items up, et cetera. Trying to reassure them has been really tough. The other thing I'm going to ask is, I know that Patty and people on Dock Street were met with and produced a list of questions that they're waiting to be answered. Please remember us on Randall Street. Please remember the B&Bs and the restaurants on Prince George Street. So we are privy to some of this communication. Everything we're getting is kind of, you know, the backhanded information that we're having to ask for. So I would appreciate that. As I said, please, you know, support us, visit us, check on us, see how we're doing, see what you can do to help us. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for testimony.
Hello, Filatetto, 1800 Poplar Avenue. No honeymoon period for this city council. I'm here as a member of the NAACP to testify to urge you to be swift and resolute in righting the wrongs of the previous administration of the treatment and processes regarding Black city employees. Others from the community have gone over all the technical points and details. I'm here to make a moral appeal as a citizen who, like many others, desperately wants to have my faith in our governments restored. Over the years, as I've learned more and more about the malfeasance in government at all levels, I hope that local government that is closest to the people and hopefully the most accountable will be the place to carry the torch of democracy. However, all these instances described tonight show how far we have to go living up to our ideals of equality, equity, and fairness. With all the blatant illegal actions perpetrated by the federal government in D.C. and deliberate denial to follow protocols, this is the time we need our local governments to be exemplary in following and respecting protocols, to show people what good, fair, and transparent governance looks like. Failure to do so will hasten the further decline of public trust in our governments and at all levels, and continue the destruction of our institutions. I hope that you are able to have the courage and the clarity to meet this moment. Since I have a little extra time and I have to go, I'd like to respond to our friend who just spoke about short-term rentals. As much as possible, money is not the goal of as much money as possible is not the goal of the average resident and doesn't measure the quality of life of residents nor a vibrant community. A friend went to Venice several years ago and commented how there's no Venetians there, it's all tourists. I don't think that's the vision for our town, and I hope that you keep that in mind. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present who would like to speak? Okay, seeing no motion in chambers, I declare comments by the general public closed. Ms. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is approval.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, someone else approaching? Thank you. Please start with your name and address.
Hello, my name is Veronica Grant. I live at 23 Bates Street. And bear with me, please. There might be a second. Okay. Today I stand before you as a constituent of Ward 2, a direct descendant of the Old Fourth Ward, a historic Black community whose stability I am fiercely committed to protecting. Our community was open. When our community was open to business opportunities, we expected empowerment and growth for long-standing residents, not for outside investors to turn our blocks into tourist commodities. We are a neighborhood of families, not a hotel district for foot tours or short-term stays. Currently, unlicensed short-term rentals in open defiance of our laws. They take our parking, drive up our cars, and erode our culture. Under City Code Statute 1744010B, these are municipal infractions. I'm calling for the full enforcement of $200 per day fines, the collection of all owed 7% hotel occupancy taxes, and the permanent revocation of license for those who have skirted the law. They are profiting by circumventing our regulations, and they must face the consequences. We must go even further. I am here to voice my support for R4R, residential for residents legislation. We want Airbnbs out of our residential community, but we also want a plan for what comes next. A community restoration model. I propose a two-pillar community restoration model for properties that have been operating illegally. It's a home ownership path, rent to own. Let's convert these investor-owned units into rent to own opportunities for Ward 2 residents. This turns the transit business into a family legacy. The resource path is transitional housing. I know I need to wrap it up. Give me a second, please. Let's use a portion of these homes as a resource hub for our neighbors facing homelessness. We have homeless camps all around the city, yet we have all these unlicensed Airbnbs. We envision a structured
Please do
18-month
wrap it up.
program with job training and a path to independence. Anyhow, I did email the city clerk a summary of what I was saying, and I have comment questions I thought you may ask and answers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for testimony. Thank you. Is there anyone else for the general comments? Again, this is not for comment on short-term rentals.
No, this is, I would like to make a comment,
it-
but it's not about Airbnb.
Then come on up. This is your time.
Okay. My name is Louisa Gerlando. I live on 81 Charles Street. So I live right off of Cathedral. It's the first cross street. The intersection of Cathedral and South Street is a danger zone. I was T-boned. My car was totaled. After that happened, I asked them to put up better signage. They put up a stop sign. The problem is the street goes downhill as it approaches Cathedral Street, and the police vans park illegally. There's always one that's parked past that. The people coming down the street cannot see the stop sign. Just last week, I was walking up Cathedral Street to go to my job at the visitor center, and I nearly got killed, and the car coming down the street, I screamed at the driver to stop. Something has got to be done to improve the visibility. Maybe the stop sign has to be higher, but all the cars going down Cathedral Street now sort of go 5 miles an hour past that intersection because we're terrified. So really, I'd love to see some. I don't want to be T-boned again. Can't afford to buy another car. Okay.
Thank you for your testimony.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone else present who would like to speak for the general comment period?
Just a
Alderman
quick
Schneidermeyer.
clarification. Could you please repeat the intersection?
Pardon? It's
Good.
the intersection of Cathedral and South Street.
Thank you.
Cathedral as you're going up towards West Street. The courthouse is right there, so the police park, and they park, you are not supposed to park past a
Thank
certain
you.
sign, but they park with their big vans, and you can't see the
Thank
stop
you.
sign.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no motion again in chambers, I declare comments by the public, general public closed. Ms. City Attorney, will you please present the next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar include journals of proceedings, CCM 12/8/25 regular meeting minutes, and CCM 12/8/25 special meeting minutes. That's the end of the consent calendar.
Thank you. Is there any objection to the consent calendar? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Schneidermeyer. Is there a second? Thank you, Alderman O'Neill. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Littman,
Yes, aye.
Alderman Smith Brown,
Yes, aye.
Alderwoman Alsop Johnson. So,
Accepted.
I didn't hear your answer, I'm sorry.
And I'm agreeable.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Schneidermeyer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Conti,
Aye.
Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Thorpe,
Aye.
Alderman Huntley,
Aye.
and Alderwoman O'Neill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is public hearings, beginning with ordinance 4025, establishing a 12-month moratorium on short-term rental licenses, on new short-term rental licenses.
Thank you. I'm now going to invite those who have signed up to speak on the sign-up sheet and ask that you start with your name and address. The first three speakers are Andrew Allisberry, perhaps?
I've already spoken, so you can skip me. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate McDermott and Veronica Grant.
Good evening, Mayor Littman, thank you, and good evening, members of the City Council. Katie McDermott, 50 Franklin Street, Annapolis. I testified today and urge unanimous approval of the moratorium by every single city council member. And I think that it's in the public interest, and it will enhance the credibility of any STR regulation or enforcement that ultimately occurs. I perceive, and yes, I'm a lawyer, but I perceive no legal impediment to this moratorium. It's not unconstitutional. It's not deficient in any way. And much of what it's trying to achieve was not done before, and it's unfortunate. And this is an opportunity for a really new beginning in regulating our housing options and dealing with what is a really big problem, STRs. When I had my little summer adventure campaigning, the first question I got asked is, how can a private equity out of state buy 4 homes in Murray Hill? I don't know, but I've been researching it, and I want to put on the table a question that I think really ought to be grappled with, which is, once Annapolis decided that STRs were hotel enough to get a tax, an occupancy tax, there's no residential use. And I'd like to understand the legal basis for allowing any STR in any area that's zoned residential. I don't think there's a legal basis for it. So I think you should really start thinking about why owner-occupied has not been defined in the current legislation, because that could be a protection for STRs, particularly some of the folks that live here. But right now, I see grave deficiency legally in our STR regulatory framework. And I also see holes in our legal approach to STRs and not just enforcement. So this is not an idle, egotistical effort. And it shouldn't be approached that way on the moratorium either. I'm disappointed that our Ward 1 alderman has not been more forceful in representing our ward and at least allowing a moratorium to go forward and allow this incredibly important comprehensive assessment to occur. It's in the public interest and has an enormous public benefit. And I compliment Alderman O'Neill for having the courage to do it, and for Mayor Littman for having the courage to proceed. And for those of you that are willing to grapple with this issue and not be satisfied with the deal that was made in the dark in an election year. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Veronica Grant, who will be followed by Norma Malayo, and you have to help me here, Major something M. But the next one is Veronica Grant.
She already spoke.
All right. Norma Milio.
That was nice to walk up to.
Yeah, you got walk-up music.
Good evening. My name is Norma Milio, M-I-L-I-O, 114 Smith.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak tonight. I bought my house 6 years ago when my daughter entered the Naval Academy. I fell in love with Annapolis. I knew I wanted to invest here. I knew I wanted to be close to my daughter and all her friends. And through the 6 years I've been here, I feel like I've become part of the community. Yes, I'm making this about me because it's about my house. And I don't think you hear enough stories like mine. My husband still works in New York. It's where we were born and raised, where we raised our kids. So my license might still say New York, but I am in Annapolis 2 weeks out of every month. I have 6 sponsor kids, and I have promised them that I will be in my house 2 weeks every month. Looking at the STR that you have set up, okay, moratorium, fine. Let's take some time to think about that. But what defines the owner-occupied, or even if that's going to be included in anything going forward, that concerns me. Because if I can't rent my house, I can't afford my house. I can't afford to be here, can't afford to be part of this city that I'm coming to love, that I can't be in permanently. Talk to my husband about that yet. So I would love to remain in my house. I would love to still be part of this community. I've made friends with everyone in my neighborhood. I play Annapolis with the Annapolis Pickleball Club when I'm here. So I would really like you guys to not look at the blanket situation, but maybe look at stories like mine, because I pay the taxes. I get the inspection every year. I have not had one complaint on my house, okay? I am providing a service For instance, a few months ago, I was able to rent out my house to a parent who needed a home because her midshipman was having surgery. Couldn't stay in a hotel because she wanted to make sure she can cook for him and had ice and everything like that. She needed a house to rent. Sometimes it's not a hotel. Sometimes it's got to be a house. I've had people stay in my house, come into town with grandma and a few cousins. They want to bring their dog. And yes, they have midshipmen at the academy. And before you know it, they've brought 3 friends over and they're having a barbecue in my yard. Can't do that at a hotel. You can do it at a house. I'm proud to provide that service to the naval community. So I'm not going to take up 3 minutes. I just wanted to share my story about my involvement with the STR. I want to stay in Annapolis. I want to eventually get my license switched over here and be able to vote for all you nice people. But please consider a story like mine, that I think I am part of the community, and my STR is giving something to the community as well. So thanks again.
Thank you for your testimony. I can't read the next name. It's the person who lives at 58 Modern Place.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So,
I think I was supposed to be a doctor with my shorthand, but here I am. So
Please start
anyway,
please start with your name.
it's Megan Moore, 58 Madison Place.
Thank
so
you.
if you want to correct that awful handwriting. So City Council and Mayor Lippman, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I recognize how many voices you're hearing with some really, really serious issues tonight. So I'll be really brief. I've been a resident of the city of Annapolis for over 50 years and a local property owner and short-term rental manager since 2010. If the moratorium moves forward, I strongly urge you to ensure that those of us directly impacted are meaningfully included in the discussions ahead. I bring 15 years of firsthand experience, reliable data, and a deep commitment to this community. I'm confident that by working collaboratively, we can develop a fair, effective, and sustainable solution to this complex issue, one that serves both our city and our residents. I've met with some of you personally. I wanted to wait for the holidays to happen, but I'm gonna email each one of you. I have an office downtown. I'm an open book. I would love to meet with any of you. If you have any questions, you'll have my personal email. You know, I want this to be a discussion. I think we could all work together and do a little bit better. So,
thank you.
Thanks.
Robert, sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
All right, thanks. You have to help me when you.
Good evening, Mayor Lippman and members of the council, especially our new members. I'm Robert McKenna from 207 Severn Avenue. I've been a resident of Annapolis for most of the last 22 years. I have been a operator along with my wife, Dr. Cerise, of an owner-occupied STR, fully licensed since 2017. But my history with short-term rentals in Annapolis goes back much further. In 1968, my family was living overseas, and we spent a month out here in Annapolis renting a house out by Key School. So there's an extraordinarily long history of short-term rentals in this town, going back several hundred years. In 2019, all the stakeholders in this town came together to come up with a set of rules. And, you know, if you were here 6 years ago, some of those meetings were fairly contentious. And, you know, we found a way to kind of balance all the stakeholders together. You know, the hotels who didn't want to be competing against folks on an uneven footing. The needs of the city to not be inundated with corporate ownership. And the needs of both the local and sometimes part-time resident homeowners to have an avenue to lease their houses out to make some revenue so that they could hold on to those properties. Putting in a 12-month moratorium kind of flies in the face of all the progress we made 6 years ago. And it really comes down, I think, a question of trust, which I think is kind of been a little lacking in this meeting tonight. So I would urge the council to vote against putting in a 12-month moratorium. But I would also urge the council and the city to absolutely do a study and make sure that we are enforcing the rules that we all agreed to. It's pretty simple. You know, I don't want folks that are renting their places out who haven't been going through the inspection process. You know, it's a pain to do. And you got to write the check. And every month you got to go deal with the city and make sure you report your stuff in. So again, I would urge you to vote no. But I absolutely urge you to make sure that everybody's following the rules. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The next three speakers are Paul Elder, George Miller, and Tom Berger. Paul?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Littman, council members. My name is Paul Elder. I live at 77 Shipwright Street with my bride, Dorothy. Since people have brought up Annapolis history, my wife's great-great-great-great-great-uncle was Thomas Stone, which is part of one of the pictures you have downstairs. We've lived here, well, I tell people we weren't born here, but we got here as quickly as I could. And we have lived on Shipwright Street for a little over 40 years. And I've seen numerous changes occur in those years. All my children went to Green Street Elementary School and then matriculated on. Currently, the situation is I am speaking in favor of the ordinance embargo, or what do you call it, the moratorium on 04025. Through the years, the entire character of Annapolis has changed. It used to be a place where people owned businesses downtown and lived downtown. I was on the Ward 1 sector study, and we came to some very strong consensus that we had to put a moratorium on bars that were open past midnight. But that was quickly thrown under the bus. And now the highest and best uses of a lot of properties downtown is for a bar and a restaurant. I've also served on the Ward 1 sector study, and I've also served on the Fire Safety Commission that was established under Mayor Hopkins. VBRs have changed the character of our neighborhoods. My neighbor sold his house. He had a young family that were stationed at the Naval Academy and were going to retire here, and they had children. But they were outbid by a VBRO contestant in the process. So we now have a VBRO next door. In addition to that VBRO, we have 5 additional VBROs on Shipwright Street. And the area that covers is from Revel Street down to Spa Creek. If you look at it, there's approximately 12 houses in there. 5 residences, 5 houses around, 5 VBROs and only 12 residences. The visitors frequently are very pleasant, but they park their oversized vehicles and take up valuable parking spots. And the city's parking authority seems to have little ability to mind that issue. It's a real problem. Additionally, VBROs are businesses, and their properties are businesses, and they can be depreciated over time, where a resident can't really appreciate. Is that my warning sign?
It is.
I'm
Please
sorry,
wrap it
residents
up.
cannot appreciate the fact that their property values go up because of what the VBRO did. And those properties should not be used as comparables when calculating taxes.
Please wrap
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. George Miller. I live at 604 Taylor Avenue, right across from Navy's football stadium. I was born in Annapolis in 1950 in Eastport. My family property, which my wife and I have, and we have a separate house which we short-term rental, has been in the family for many, many years. As a public educator, which I was before I retired, I'm not rich, and the extra money from the STR is appreciated, and I certainly don't want to get rid of family property. We sponsor 8 midshipmen. We're very involved in the community. I moved away 40 years and had the opportunity to come back to Annapolis, which I love. The moratorium issue, which you're discussing, there's all kinds of sizes you've heard tonight. I'll just say I think the moratorium or whatever you do is important, because I think what you're doing now is good intentioned, but is broken. One of the few things that we've had issues with is simply trying to get help with the licenses. People cannot keep up and cannot respond. That's a problem. And if you're adding more things and you can't take care of what you have a bigger problem. So what is your overall goal? Is it to reduce STRs totally? I know some people are overindulged with them and just too many in that area. Annapolis does need and does use them. What is your plan to accommodate these people that come in? I don't know. I think those are questions that you need to ask as you go through this. It's a viable part of our community. It's something that we do for a lot of fun and meet good people, and I think a lot of people do, and there are a lot of people that use that money just to make sure they have their home. So a moratorium may be good if you're working towards an end goal. I don't know what your end goal is. I certainly hope it's to include STRs in the big picture for the city of Annapolis. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Berger, followed by Susan Jorgensen and Paul Four.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Tom Berger. I live almost immediately next door at 170 Duke, and my wife and I operate for the last 20 years the Georgian House Bed and Breakfast, not a short-term rental. We operate under the city regulations that bed and breakfasts must be owner-occupied. I've heard debate this evening already, and I'm not going to try to comment on that, other than I read that as owner-occupied as that we live there, okay, full-time. All right, we may not be there all the time, but we live there full-time. Okay. Earlier, someone commented on financial elements. I would say that for us, over the last 10 years, we have remitted to the city approximately $23,000 of hotel tax. Okay. In addition, our various licenses average $2,500 a year. Okay. And as homeowners, as residential homeowners, our property taxes are north of $15,000 a year in the city of Annapolis. I want to focus briefly on a more subjective element surrounding the issue of what are affectionately known as short-term rentals. The original intent, and was slightly alluded to earlier, of companies like Airbnb was for homeowners to take advantage of, quote, unused space, to be able to rent out a bedroom, okay, open their homes to individuals for a fee. Of course, what we now face are the unintended consequences of such an idea, with people realizing they could either A, use their entire house to earn income without living there, or perhaps more importantly, convert apartment complexes and other facilities into nothing more than overnight rentals. I had more remarks, but I'm going to stop it there. I think the moratorium is a very important idea. It's not stopping anybody, okay? I agree totally with Katie. I don't know the legal ramifications of everything that she spoke to, but I think our current regulatory environment needs a hard look, a good, thoughtful look, which was not the case in everything that came up to it originally. Too many emotions running rampant, too many ideas that were not founded in fact. So I strongly encourage you to take the moratorium, use that time to give thought to how we can have solid set of regulations and perhaps most importantly, as somebody else also mentioned, enforce those regulations to the benefit of everybody here. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Susan Jorgensen, followed by Paul Thor and Susan Wheatley.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Susan Jorgensen. I'm at 39 Murray Avenue, downtown Annapolis. I've been living in my home for 34 years, and I've been using it as a short-term rental for Airbnb since I think 2017. But I live in my home, and I rent out just rooms in my home. One of my issues is that I live on a street that has restricted parking, so you have to have a pass to park there. But I live real close to the Knighton Garage, so that's where my people park, which works for me. I have an objection to the fact that if you rent your home out for the entire year, which I do, although I probably only rent it certain months of the year, I have to pay a fee of $400. However, if I only was renting it out for the boat show or for commissioning week, then there's no $400 fee for those people doing that, which I think is really an objective to me. I don't see how that works out. They can rent their whole house for thousands of dollars for that week and benefit from the fact that they're not paying tax on it, they're not paying the fee on it, and they're getting away with getting lots of money coming in for boat show and for commissioning week. I object to the fact that some of the people who are purchasing a lot of these homes in Annapolis, a lot of them are graduates of the academy, and they're taking advantage to try and keep a home here. But in some cases, then, the house next door to me is empty. The house on the other side of me is empty because people are not really living there. Houses across the street from me are also open for people to purchase or to use as a short-term rental. Anyway, I think the whole thing also is a problem with not everybody who does this in the city of Annapolis is licensed. So they get away with doing this without having to pay any of the fees at all. I just think everything needs to be tightened up quite a bit. Maybe the moratorium will help. Maybe just making sure that whoever purchases property in here maintains the fact that this is a community and you should be part of the community. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Paul Ford, then Susan Wheatley, and Adriana, no last name.
Paul Ford, 921 Boucher Avenue, longtime resident, civic activist, person very much engaged in city affairs. One thing I can tell you for sure about this city or any historic place, the most radical thing you can ever do is keep things just the way they are. It's never happened in Annapolis, and it never will. The tourism, visitor impact of this city, it's here. Deal with it. I feel like it's deja vu all over again, but with a lot of different faces. You have my blessing and my best wishes to do the work for ourselves, for our community, for the city. It's hard work. It's a complicated city, always has been, full of disputes. If you have the willingness and the strength of mind and the conviction to help all of us here strike a balance, try to listen to and understand everyone's concerns. I'm an STR owner. I'm a big fan of STRs, but I understand the concerns of many of you here. I get it. You don't want them taking over your blocks. You don't like the negative impacts they have. Deal with it. We'll deal with you too. And this body will deal with it too. So if the moratorium gives you the opportunity to do it, do it. If it's just to have a moratorium, you're wasting our time. I've had long times testifying here over many years. I had a long conversation with Ms. O'Neill once. I had a long conversation with the mayor when he was running last fall. And this morning, I had the pleasure and the honor of having Alderman Frank Thorpe as a guest in my home with about 15 people. He openly and willingly talked with us, and he listened, and he cares, and he grew up on my street, and he went to the Naval Academy, and he also knows that in the Navy, when there's a mishap, that's a Navy word for screwing up, they say we have a stand down, right? And they stop, and they figure out what they've got to do. So if the moratorium allows you to do it, do it. Otherwise, you're wasting our time. So I urge you all to balance everyone's concerns and interests and understand them and learn them. It's complicated, whether it's parking or garbage or noise or what have you. But in general, in very, very general terms, we as STVR owners are your neighbors. We live here, we care for the city, we care for you, we're working hard to do the best we can, and it's important, and we benefit this city. Yeah, a lot of money, but it's way more than that if you look at it economically. This is a tourism town. I urge you all, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Ms. Wheatley, your name and address, please.
Yes, I'm Susan Wheatley, and I live at 159 Monticello Avenue. I am here in support of the moratorium. Annapolis is not a resort town. It's a hometown. Since 1976, this has been my home. I raised my children here, hosted our very large family on many occasions, holidays, and extended visits. My son's first jobs were here. They swam in the rivers. They learned to be boaters. They learned to eat and cook crabs and oysters. They went to our public elementary, middle, and high schools. We all invested deeply in life here as a family, supporting local businesses. We bought our cars from the Clackring family. We shop at Grau's. We eat at locally owned restaurants. We shop at the best little hardware store in Annapolis. And, you know, we shop Annapolis pottery for gifts. We want to support our local businesses. That's what it means to be a community. So, what do residents do that tourists, I'm not talking about owners, I'm talking about the people rolling in and rolling out, rolling in, rolling out. What do they do? And what do residents do that tourists don't do? They do lots, but let me just focus on one thing in particular. We volunteer. We volunteer at Maryland Hall with the ballet, opera, the symphony. We volunteer for the Annapolis Film Festival and other special events. We volunteer at the Annapolis Elementary School, Eastport Elementary School, Bates Middle, Annapolis High School. We volunteer at our local churches and synagogues. We volunteer for the homeless at the Lighthouse Shelter. We volunteer with my organization, Save Our Trees. We volunteer at the Maritime Museum, food banks, and the distribution of food locally. We volunteer at the Stanton Center, Salvation Army, the Wellness House for cancer patients and survivors, and their families as well. We volunteer at hospitals, at the SPCA. Community Action Agency, the Oyster Recovery Programs, Alliance for the Chesapeake, Meals on Wheels, the Lutheran Mission. And let us not forget the residents who open their homes as sponsor families to our Naval Academy midshipmen and midshipwomen. This is an Annapolis tradition, bringing them into our community. I could go on for pages. And I have to ask, all the money that comes in from the short-term rentals, what would you have to pay for those hours of service to your community? At the first council meeting of this new administration, I heard all about the tax revenues that STRs generate and how my home values will go down if they go away. My home has been my home for 38 years. It owes me nothing. I appreciate the appreciation, but this inflated value was never the goal. Personally, I don't like it. It doesn't feel honest and true. Residents do what need to be done, and tourists tour. Lastly, I would just like to suggest that you all read The Death and Life of Great American Cities by Jane Jacobs. It is a phenomenal book on how to build a city. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Adriana, and then followed by Carl Larkin and Lori Sullivan.
Hello, my name is Adriana. I'm from 1205 Cedar Park Road. I am here tonight to respectfully oppose the proposed 12-month moratorium on new short-term rental licenses. I understand the city's desire to thoughtfully manage short-term rentals, but a blanket moratorium is not the right solution. It pauses opportunity for new responsible residents and small property owners without clear evidence that the resolve of a 12-month moratorium will resolve the concerns being raised. For many Annapolis homeowners, short-term rentals are not a speculative investment. They're a way to manage rising property tax costs, insurance, maintenance costs, and to remain in the city that they love. A moratorium disproportionately impacts these residents while favoring those who already have licenses. A pause also creates uncertainty. It discourages new responsible participation and risks pushing rental outside the licensing process, making regulation and enforcement more difficult, not easier. I respectfully urge the council to continue evaluating and refining short-term rental policy without imposing a moratorium and choking the opportunity for new license holders. Please choose a path that balances new neighborhood concerns, economic vitality, and fairness for all residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Larkin, followed by Lori Sullivan, followed by Sean Deegan.
Mayor and city council members, my name is Carl Larkin. I live at 154 Prince George Street. I want to start by thanking you for recognizing the harm that owner-unoccupied short-term rentals have made to residents like mine, and for proposing a moratorium to develop and understand what exactly happens and exists in these residents. You've heard much on that already. Without the moratorium, to fully understand that what already exists and affects our residents, your ward could soon experience what it experienced in my street, which somewhat resembles Main Street. Between Green Street and Grossman Street, there are 12 businesses and few residents. On a similar block on my street, there are 12 unoccupied short-term rentals and 3 residents. And those residents here to support what goes on in the city in terms of business and volunteer activities 7 days a week. The visitors are here to visit the businesses 2 days a week. So that you can balance your economics in those ways too. So without a moratorium to understand the extent and effect of short-term rentals, a street on your ward could soon look like my street and experience the same disappointing absence of neighbors. I strongly encourage you to vote yes in support of the 12 months moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Sullivan, followed by Sean Deegan, followed by James Durden.
Good evening. I'm Lori Sullivan from 25 Wagner Street, which is right by St. John's College and the Naval Academy as you're headed out of town. I want to thank you all for your leadership, especially Alderwoman O'Neill and Mayor Littman. I cannot thank you enough for your leadership here. I am urging everyone to support this moratorium. This issue is not an abstract policy, but the lived experience of the people who still call this city a home. When we bought our house in 2003, our neighborhood was stable and deeply connected. Most neighbors had lived here for decades. We shared porches, watched each other's pets, watered plants, shoveled snowy stairs and parking spaces, brought meals when someone was sick. We cared about one another. That sense of community lasted well into the last decade, and short-term rentals really took off in Annapolis in full swing at about 2016, and everything changed. We still refer to the houses by the names of the people who once lived there: Louis and Regina's house, the Townsends, the Pfeiffers, because those names mattered to us. Today, most of those people are gone, and in their place is a constant churn: rolling suitcases, unfamiliar faces, cleaning crews, resetting houses between one group and the next party weekend. That's the rhythm of our street now. This loss is not abstract. My children have been screamed at by intoxicated adults partying on a nearby porch in the middle of a Saturday afternoon, just steps from our home. They felt unsafe, and it's happened more than once. There are also real infrastructure consequences. In the winter, when many short-term rentals sit empty, there isn't enough water moving through the sewer line. Solids back up and sewer gas fills the downstairs of our home several times every winter. That's not normal, and it's not safe. At the last council meeting, a speaker argued that families who buy second homes and rent them short-term are doing Annapolis a favor because they visit occasionally and spend money here. And we honor the service of those Naval Academy families doing that, and visitors are welcome. But visiting periodically is not the same as living here. Spending money a few weekends a year is not the same as sustaining a community. Full-time residents support local businesses year-round. We volunteer, we support schools, serve in civic organizations, we stabilize neighborhoods. It's unfair to ask residents to give up housing and safety so that others can maintain a part-time home that functions as a short-term rental year-round. Though well-meaning, the STR legislation passed by the last council does not alleviate conditions in neighborhoods where the highest concentrations of short-term rentals exist. The block-based cap largely locks in existing saturation, and if your street's already overrun like mine is, very little is going to change in the near. We say we care about affordable housing, yet we maintain policies that remove homes from the long-term housing market and drive costs higher. What neighborhoods are in need of is long-term residents and long-term renters who can be good neighbors and help stabilize communities. Annapolis has been a hometown first for over 300 years. It should remain a home for people who volunteer, who contribute, and do the everyday work that helps keep this community strong. That's why this temporary moratorium matters. It gives the city time to pause, to assess real impacts, and build a better framework, one that protects neighborhoods and residents. So please, I do urge you to support this moratorium and help us keep Annapolis a home first. Thank you very, very much. And I just want to add, most people I know are not opposed to owner-occupied STRs. It's the absentee owner situation that's really destroying our neighborhoods. And that's where we need your most help.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Sullivan.
you.
Good evening, council. We manage 75 STRs, 45 of which are in city limits. Sean Degnan, iTrip, Annapolis, 69 Franklin Street.
Thank you.
We manage 75 STRs, 45 of which are in city limits. They're all licensed. I was at Captain Paul's today we had the very productive and lively discussion with Alderman Thorpe today. Two themes came up a lot: enforcement of illegal STRs and the grandfathering of existing licensees. And to the extent that the moratorium would be used to discuss possibly looking at the grandfathering issue again. That amendment in October was slipped in at the last minute and voted on that evening with no public commentary at all. And so if the moratorium goes through, I just encourage you all to please look at that again, because these people have played by the rules. They've paid their taxes. They've done all the inspections. They've reported their bookings. The current licensees have done everything right. And let's avoid the taking of their right to make rental income. Those were the rules and the laws that were set up when they bought these homes. And so if, I would ask you to use that time to find and shut down the illegal STRs. Certainly we have to enforce the rules that already exist, but please revisit the lottery system that would remove grandfathering of existing licensees. Thanks.
Thank you. And last on the list is James Durderian. Thank you.
Yeah, 182 Prince George Street. You guys don't know how important this is to me, that I'm missing my Steelers right now. It's also hard to believe that here I am again asking the council to take into account what's happened to our neighborhoods. Ms. Wheatley and Ms. Sullivan captured it beautifully. We happened to move here as a family because we wanted to live here and be part of this community. And the Annapolis that was there, it embraced us. We had a special needs son, a very temperamental daughter about to hit puberty. We've made wonderful friends. And have gotten involved and given back. Philanthropy, volunteering, all the stuff that isn't in that cocktail napkin figuring. But even in the 11 years we've been here, it's changed. We were one of 6 families with children. There's now 1. They've been replaced by part-time owners with 2 or 3 other residents, so this is a sort of a base camp, or they are STR owners. And most of the time, they're very nice people that come to visit. And I'm not oblivious to the impact, the financial impact, but they're not neighbors. They come and they go. They don't do all of that stuff. And I agree with some of my neighbors that but who, it's a moratorium. I don't understand why they're opposed to a moratorium since they have theirs purchased and licensed. This moratorium gives everybody an opportunity to figure out what is the impact and what are we about. We should know the costs, total costs, environmental cost, cars, pollution. We should know the impact on our public institutions. You guys are going to need that extra money from the higher assessments because instead of volunteers, you're going to need more subsidies. I think a moratorium is a fantastic idea. Get the facts, get the big picture, make some good decisions. I will, one last thing. I'm off script now. Please help my Alderman Harry Huntley get answers from the city government on how to remove the illegal structure at 182 Prince George Street. Simple little things, but when you can't get an answer and you're an elected alderman, imagine what us citizens face. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak on 04025 who is not signed up? Please approach, first come.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Solomon. I live at 123 Eastern Avenue, and I am for the moratorium because the house right next door to me has been operating for 3 years with no license. None. So I jumped for joy the day I saw someone putting this big yellow sign up that said illegal to be used as a B&B. And there are 2 of them in my block. Less than 2 hours later, the sign said, "Do not remove." And they took it down and they continued renting. There are 7 houses in our block. Of the 7 houses, 3 of us have been in them 80+ years. New people move in, we introduce ourselves, and they become a part of our block. We shovel snow. I'm too old to shovel snow now, so I bake while they shovel the snow. When the 2 of you were campaigning, I said, thank God, maybe we're going to get some honesty. because don't put in a law that you can't enforce. Now, that sign said do not remove, and there was supposed to be all the stuff about what was going to happen. Nothing happened. The one is still operating. So the moratorium, I hope, will give you a chance to get rid of the illegal and keep the ratio that you say you're going to do per block. We're already over the ratio. 7 family houses and we've got 2 already. Don't destroy the few neighborhoods you still have left. 3 generations of my family, I can trace, lived in that house. I'm not going anyplace. I'm 85 and I'm here till I go home. But I'll tell you, for those of you, the weapon that you have against anything that's illegal, you pick up the phone, you call the non-police number, and you give your name, address, and telephone number, and you tell them what's going on, and you say, and when the officer settles that situation, I want to talk to him. Because if we keep closing our eyes to the illegal, we won't have anything left. That's evident right now in Washington. So grow a backbone and protect what's illegal so that those of us that want to be legal and peaceful can still call it home, because I'm not leaving. And I've already told my son, you ever sell this house, I'll come back and haunt you. Okay, so the moratorium gets us time to get the situation straightened out. So if we just keep letting the illegal happen, it's going to keep going on. I'm not against anything you do to your property as long as it doesn't affect my rights and my property. And as for the people that have the I don't care what you do, but I do care what you do when it affects me. And our mayor and my alderman, I call and I show up. And I'm gonna keep showing up. So, to all of you, we need that moratorium to keep this a town. Mayberry, no, I don't want it to be Mayberry. I want it to be the nice that I was born into. Okay, love the Naval Academy. My son graduated from the academy. I love this town, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just gonna keep showing up.
Thank you, Ms. Solomon.
Max Gross, 215 Taylor Avenue. Really wish I would have gone before her. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors. I am opposed to the moratorium. My association would tell me that the line is private property rights. You buy a property, you should be able to do what you want with it. I don't think that's going to be very effective in this room tonight. I want you all to know that I grew up in what is now Ward 3. I live in what is now Ward 1, but 4 years ago it was Ward 2. My parents moved from Ward 4 when they got pregnant with me. We've been here a while. I have the exact same conversations around my dinner table that we're having in this room tonight. I am not beyond understanding anyone's issues here. But what I will say is that I don't understand what a moratorium accomplishes. Tomorrow, moratorium goes into effect. Do you suddenly have the resources to enforce the laws? Do you suddenly have the resources to stop unlicensed STRs from opening up? When the official market shuts down, the black market doesn't stop. And by the city's own records, about 50% of the operating STRs in Annapolis are unlicensed. What happens with the moratorium is that people feel like you're doing something, because you plan to, and I believe that sincerely. This was a huge campaign issue. I've heard you all speak about it. You want to do something, but the moratorium doesn't do anything. It's the same situation. It preserves the status quo for a year while you figure it out. And you know what? You can figure out these issues while the status quo exists. In fact, we should probably let the bill that just passed last couple months ago, we should probably let it go into effect for a little while and see what happens. If we want to study what happens, if we want to study of what the impacts of these policies are, we need to look at this policy under the new status quo. So I greatly appreciate the engagement on this issue. I look forward to continuing to work with every one of you on what the final solution and what the balance is. I just don't understand why a moratorium does anything more than feel good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bramson, name and address, please.
Ben Bramson, 2 Maryland Avenue. I am thankful I wasn't the person to go immediately after her as well, so thank you for taking that. I didn't intend to speak today, so I don't have anything prepared. I apologize if I fumbled through it a little bit, but as people talked, I have felt inspired. It kind of seems like there's been two sides that have been talking, and we kind of are focusing on two different things. Those that are opposed are focusing a lot on the amount of money that comes into the city through short-term rentals, and I'm sure those numbers are correct. One thing that I do want to point out is that, you know who else spends money in Annapolis? People that live in Annapolis. I spend a lot of time at the Brown Mustache on Maryland Avenue. Harry, I've even bought you a coffee there before. And unfortunately for me, they told me that they've actually been able to track how much I've spent there. And it's a lot of money, $10,000 I have spent in coffees at the Brown Mustache. I am well on my way of putting Joel and Colleen, one of their children, Joel and Colleen Bunker's children, through college at this point. So we also spend money in Annapolis as well. The other kind of side that has been talked about is those that are in favor of it, talking about community, talking about our neighborhoods. I agree with all of those things as well. One thing that I want to point out that hasn't really been talked about is that as it is right now, people cannot afford to live in Annapolis. Annapolis is too expensive to live in. I have a friend who works on Maryland Avenue that is trying to find a place close to where they work, and they can't find it because there's nothing under $1,800 for rent for a single unit here for a one-bedroom apartment. It is too expensive to be able to live here as it is. And for every home that is being used as an STR, that is a home that could be used for somebody who wants to live here, for somebody who wants to start to build a life in Annapolis or build a family in Annapolis. And I don't envy you on how we take care of this, but I think we also need to make sure it's acknowledged that excessive STRs are directly affecting those who are already trying to afford to live here, for those who are struggling to afford to live here. And not only is it going to be more difficult for people to find housing here, it's going to start to push those out that are already kind of on the edge with what they can afford to live here as well. So I think that's something that's very important that also needs to be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Shea, 117 Conduit Street. My family's been in Annapolis and Anne Arundel County for over 100 years. I own a short-term rental on Conduit Street. It used to be my primary residence. I was a primary resident down there in Ward 1 in 2019 when we went through this last time. I fully understand both sides. And if the moratorium gives us a year to figure out the best path forward, then maybe that's the best approach. But the legislation that was passed without proper comment last year is the wrong direction. Everybody said, you know, by the city's own admission, 50% of the STRs are illegal. If we're trying to reduce STRs, why don't we start there with that 50%, or at least get 40% of those? To put the target on to make this first step, the first target, to be the people that have been following the rules, having the inspections done, and paying taxes for years, it's just backwards. And I think this new council should take a second look at that and try to find an approach that's more fair and encourages people to do the right thing. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for testimony.
Okay. Hi, I'm Louisa Gerlando again, live at 81 Charles Street. I've lived in Annapolis for 21 years. When I first moved there, we had block parties. I had neighbors. On Halloween, we sat out on our porches, drank a glass of wine. I think there is a need for short-term rentals. I just don't want that many of them. And if you're buying an investment, you can always do a long-term rental. I've had 2 long-term rentals next door to me for the entire 21 years I've lived there. Some have lived there for a year. The ones next door to me now have lived there for 5 years. The one on the other side of me, 4 years. Long-term rentals are fine. We do each other favors. We take each other's mail. We bring in the Amazon packages. So if you're looking for an investment, long-term rentals are good. I just don't like the fact that I have people that I don't have neighbors anymore. And Annapolis has changed too. I used to buy my shoes here. I used to buy my clothes downtown. Sometimes I didn't move my car for a week. It's getting harder. It's getting harder. It's like Annapolis is turning into Disneyland. Aren't these houses cute? It's a shame nobody lives in them. So anyway, please consider the moratorium. They give us time to consider. I'm not saying there shouldn't be short-term rentals. They fulfill a need for families coming to visit. They fulfill a need if you want to stay here for 2 weeks or a month. I myself have rented a short-term rental for a month. Made a lot of sense. If I'm going someplace for a few days, I do a hotel. So anyway, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
I was going to get that for you. Hi, Winship Wheatley, 159 Monticello Avenue. Just very quickly, I want to express my support for the moratorium. It seems to me that despite your very difficult task here to balance these competing interests, it just seems that you have some choices to make. The moratorium seems to be the best among so many other poor choices that you have to make. Doing nothing is not an acceptable option. And I know that I can't say things better than what other people have already said, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that I do support the moratorium, not because it's perfect, but because it's doing something. And speaking of doing something, I do ask you to find a way to take care of the 49% of the folks who aren't in compliance with your requirements. And with that, I yield the rest of my time to Mrs. Wheatley.
Thank you, Mr. Creek.
Tom Creek, 14 Murray Avenue. I guess I get the back cleanup today. Look, first of all, I want to applaud Jared and Karma for bringing this up. You could have avoided the issue for a period of time and had a lot shorter meeting tonight. So I applaud you for bringing this up and trying to attack this issue. It's very important. I took some notes as people were talking, and I think it's really important to talk about some of the subjects that were brought up here. First of all, I'm totally in support of the moratorium. Okay, it's necessary. It's necessary, and what really I feel real comfortable in Jared's newsletter this morning, he said something about being data-driven for a solution. And I think that's really important, to take the emotions out and put the data in. And I think, that's really, good point moving forward. And I tell some of the people in here that ask the question of why moratorium. And 2 points to Max's point about why moratorium. Because it is going to be data-driven. It's not going to be emotions-driven. It's going to be based upon what we should do based upon getting results from a number. And I think that's important. And the other part is I think that we have to give the new administration a chance. It's not the old administration. It's not what it's been for the last 8 years. Give the new administration a chance to make a change. I don't know what the right number of short-term rentals is. It could be 0. I point over to Lori over there. Or it could be 3,100. I don't think it's either of those, by the way. I think it's somewhere in between. It's probably a reasonable number. And I think that's up to you to decide what that number comes back from a data-driven perspective. I would suggest also to look at the occupancy tax. I know I'm going to get killed by some people here, but I haven't worked short-term rentals, everybody knows. Look at the occupancy tax as a method to give an incentive to long-term rentals. Okay? If you have a long-term rental, you don't pay occupancy tax, you don't pay sales tax. So in essence, right now, I could take 14% less on gross revenue and break even. So start thinking about that, and that doesn't count cleaning and everything else that you have to do with a short-term rental. So there's some incentives from a business perspective that's sitting in your hands right now. And I guess my last point, and I'll leave it alone here, is somebody made a point about involving the stakeholders. And that's why I would really suggest you do. Involve the stakeholders. A lot of stakeholders here, a lot of smart people that understand this business, and it is a business. Let's not kid each other. It's a business. A lot of people understand this business. They understand how to market this without using Airbnb and Vrbo, which is the only ones that require permits, by the way. Okay? At least from my knowledge. I'm sure some people can educate me on that too. But I think you have an opportunity to reset this whole agenda and move forward. Pass the moratorium. Let's all breathe, take a breath. It's an emotional issue. Pass the moratorium, take a breath, move forward, and then data drive what the solution could be. So I really, again, applaud you taking that step. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other speakers? Go ahead.
My name's Dave Simison. I live at 105 Ryan Court. That's in Chestertown, and you wonder why I'm here. I'm here because my first job out of high school, I worked at the courthouse in 1971. When I finished law school, we moved here. I clerked for a judge in '79. I think I lived in Annapolis at least 20 years. All 3 children were born in the old hospital. My kids went to school here. My kids come to my Airbnb when they come to town. I'm staying in my Airbnb. What's important about the moratorium, and I'm here in favor of the moratorium, is so that we can take a breath and take a look at how best to approach the problem. Because, for example, my Airbnb is in a 3-unit townhouse at the top of Cathedral Street. It's not a residentially zoned district. So we don't hear about the problems of people who live on a residential street and they don't know their neighbors because they don't have neighbors except visitors. So I think it's important for us. One of the problems with the bill that I see is it didn't create a commission to look into this. If that's implicit, good. Don't do the moratorium just to kick it down the road a year. If you're going to do the moratorium, then take that year to look into it, make distinctions between the zones where the permits are going so that you can get it right the first time or the second time or at least the next time. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on 04025? Seeing no motion in chambers, I declare the public comment period concluded. Before we take the next matter on the agenda, let's take a 10-minute recess and resume at 9:15. Thank you.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing on ordinance 4125, fiscal year 2026, changes in the exempt service job classification.
Thank you. We will first call the people who have signed up on the list, and that is limited to Ashley Chapin. Please come up and speak if you like, if you are still in the room. Okay, is there anybody who is not signed up but would like to speak to ordinance, proposed ordinance 04125? Okay, seeing none, I declare the public hearing on 04125 closed. Ms. City Attorney, will you please present the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda is legislative actions on first readers, beginning with ordinance 126, property tax, child care centers, family child care center homes, and large family child care homes.
Very good, thank you. Is there a motion to adopt 0126 on first reader? So moved. Thank you, Alderman Chandelmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Daisha, thank you for the second. Sorry, I had to pick somebody. I refer 0126 to the, well, let's see. We have a couple proposed. Is there anyone who would like to propose a committee to assign?
I move that it be referred to the finance.
Okay.
Seems to make
Excuse me a
sense.
second. May I just check
Second.
something, City Attorney?
I was thinking.
I apologize, I was reading the line wrong. This is assigned to Finance and the Rules and City Government Committee. Yes. That is done by code for the two committees. I forgot to do the all in favor, excuse me. All in favor on the motion that's been proposed to adopt 0126 on first reader. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Apologize for the oversight. Any opposed? Not hearing any. I refer 0126 to Finance Committee and to the Rules and City Government Committee. Anything further on 0126? Alderwoman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I be added as a co-sponsor?
Of course. Thank you. Anything else on 0126? Thank you. Ms. City Attorney, will you please present the next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is Resolution 126, fiscal year 2027, annual statement of performance standards.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt R126 on first reader? So moved. Thank you, Alderman Chandelmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Smith-Brown. I'm sorry, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Yes, Alderman Savage.
I would like to ask this get referred to Environmental Matters Committee because we, a couple of years ago, did draft up some performance standards. So I'd like to dig those up and see if we can incorporate those.
Speak closer, please.
So a couple of years ago, Environmental Matters did work on some performance standards. And I'd like to dig those up and look to possibly include those in the new ones.
Okay. Any objection to being assigned to environmental as the one committee? Okay. I'm happy to assign R126 to the environmental committee. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on R126? Thank you. Ms. City Attorney, would please present the next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is Resolution 226, establishing the order of succession for mayor.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt R226 on first reader? Thank you, Alderman Thorpe. Any second? Second. Thank you, Alderman Chandelmeyer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it. And Ms. City Attorney, would please present the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda is Resolution 326, water service agreement with North Point Property LLC.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt R326 on first reader?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Alderman Chandelmeyer. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. I refer R326 to the Finance Committee and to Environmental Matters. Alderman Savage.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, on R126, sorry, I'm looking up. I thought I had in my notes that might need a public hearing per code. Does somebody know?
It's not required. It can be if someone requests one.
I thought specific to the performance standards. No.
I didn't see anything in the code that required it.
Okay.
Are you requesting one? Okay. So we're on R326. I've referred it to Finance and to Environmental Matters. Sorry, Ms. Buckland, would you like to?
Sorry, I didn't catch where was R226 referred?
It was referred to, yeah, it wasn't referred to any committee. No. Okay. So we're on R326. It's been referred. Anything further on R326? Thank you. Ms. City Attorney, will you please present the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda is legislative action on second reader. This one is for reconsideration, beginning with Resolution R4725, the Standing Committee appointments for the 2026-2030 council term.
Thank you. And I'll ask for a motion to reconsider R4725.
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Schandelmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. Is there a motion to adopt R4725 on second reader?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Thorpe. Is there a motion to amend R4725 on second reader?
Point of
Sorry.
order? Wouldn't we need to move Amendment 1? Is that the proper process?
Yes, we have the proposed amendment. Thank you. R4725, amendment number 1. Is there a motion to amend R4725 on second reader with R4725, amendment 1?
I'd like to make a motion to move Amendment 1.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. And now I think I finally get to say, is there, no, I still have to go to adopt. Is there a motion to adopt R4725 as amended on second reader?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Littman.
Aye.
Alderman Smith Brown.
Aye.
Alderwoman Alsop Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Schneidermeyer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Conti.
Aye.
Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderman Thorpe.
Aye.
Alderman Huntley.
Aye.
And Alderwoman O'Neill.
Aye.
Thank you. That resolution passes.
Thank you. Ms. City Attorney, will you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, before I get to that, I have been politely corrected by Alderman Savage that R126 does need to go for a public hearing.
Okay.
It was R1, right?
Yes.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is Resolution R4825. Did we just do that one? No.
Yeah, we're on 4825.
Okay. 47 and 48 confuses me.
Yep.
Standing committee appointments for the 2026 to 2030 council term.
Thank you.
That is also a
And
reconsideration.
before we move on, was there anything procedurally that we need to do to add a public hearing for R126? Very good, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to reconsider Resolution 4825?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Schandelmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Huntley. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 4825 on second reader?
So moved.
Oh, that's not in the notes here. All those in favor of the motion to reconsider R4825, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now we're ready for a motion to adopt R4825 on second reader.
So moved.
Isn't there an amendment?
That's the next step. First we have to reconsider, then adopt, then propose amendment, then amend, and then adopt.
I'll leave it to you, Mr. Mayor.
And I leave it to our city clerk to tell me what to do.
He's doing a
Thank
great
you.
job.
Was that Alderman Schandelmeyer? Is that her? Thank you. Was there a second?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. And I believe now we're at the proposed amendment. We have an amendment, R4825, amendment number 1. Is there a motion to amend R4825 on second reader?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Schandelmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Smith Brown. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt R4825 as amended on second reader?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. Is there a second? Thank you, Alderman Thorpe. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Littman.
Aye.
Alderman Smith Brown.
Aye.
Alderwoman Alsop Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Schneidermeyer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Conti.
Aye.
Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Thorpe,
Aye.
Alderman Huntley,
Aye.
and Alderwoman O'Neill.
Aye.
And that passes.
Thank you. That'll teach us to never make a mistake again on legislation. Madam City Attorney, will you please present the next item on the agenda?
The agenda is completed.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, you may not want to do this now, but at some point I'd like to have I think it'd be good for us to have a conversation about work session priorities and how to determine those, because we do have a number of topics that are in the queue. And I'll argue there are some that may be more pressing than others. In particular, in light of all the testimony, there is a request and an offer from Planning and Zoning to give a presentation on the enforcement program, what kind of resources may or may not be needed. And so I think that may take precedence over some of the other, or priority over some of the other topics, but we don't really have a good mechanism to have that dialogue at the moment. We have a work session next week, I believe, for budget goals and process, as well as the fire strategic plan. I do have some concerns about trying to put too much into one work session. We've, over the years, have had it often happen where we run out of time and we just end up shortening the conversation as a result, which prevents us from really having good dialogue. I can't remember, the finance chair may remember how long it took us to have a conversation last year on that, budget goals and processes, but I would just, I guess, throw out there possibility of dedicating our entire work session on that, and then, again, just what kind of process you might want to follow for prioritizing.
Gotcha. So we have the agenda for next week. It has 2 items on it. It's top heavy for the budget discussion. I have no doubt that 1 hour and 15 minutes, nor 2 hours, nor 3 hours, nor 4 hours is sufficient time for as much as we want to say about budget goals. And that meeting next week doesn't have to be the final work session we have on it. I have no doubt that when we get to the end of our time limit, we'll have more to say and we could schedule more time on it. It's certainly the budget's a priority for all of us and we'll give it more time. As far as the priorities, that's what you have an administration for. We have a long list of requests from the administration, from council members, and we are trying to accommodate all the requests, trying to balance the length of time needed for each of those discussions, and the priorities and the timing for each of those. I think we're very much looking at the need to go to twice-a-month work sessions to give more time to all those worthy topics. They all have varying work sessions. I know we have P&Z in February already scheduled, or draft scheduled, if you will. And I'm forgetting the specific topic. I think it's the same one that you were mentioning, but I wouldn't swear to it because I don't have it in front of me. But I could easily see, like I said, having an additional time for the budget discussion in February as well, because the one in January won't be enough time for it. And just as a preview, so we have 1 hour and 15. I'm budgeting the expectation that that the 8 of you will each have a chance to present 2 items, and I want to go in order so that if we take the total time and divide it 8 and we go one at a time, then the last person that speaks is going to be at the very end and rushed, especially if we go over. So I'm going to be going down the line in order 1 through 8 to give your first priority, a couple minutes to present it, get some questions, and then go 8 through 1 to do a second priority. And at best, I think that's all we're going to have the time for in 1 hour and 15 minutes. And so that's, come with your best 2. As you previously been asked, send your priorities to Mr. Huntley, Alderman Huntley, and Alderman Huntley, if you can collate and share that as quickly as possible when you get that.
Yeah, and I was planning to send out an email to everybody, but I'll take the opportunity to say, I'm asking if you can all submit those to me by this Thursday, so we have a week to get it together, give it to the administration, make sure we can have a productive discussion.
Great.
So, close the business this Thursday, please.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? No? Okay. All right. I think that concludes it. There being no other items on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Alderwoman O'Neill. I heard the second from Alderman Schandelmeyer. All those in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.